Right, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we've got Bottle Glimt this Thursday, and this week will be dedicated to that match. But we've got some transfer news coming from journalists in Spain, from Sky Sports Spain, which tell us that Jose Mourinho has given Eden Hazard a call. Now, I want to start off by saying this. I have a feeling people right now just see Hazard as, oh my god, when will this ever happen? Roma don't have the money to buy him. This is just absolute bullshit news. I think people link Hazard to money. But, ladies and gentlemen, this guy's value went from 150 million euros to 20 million euros. That is mental. The amount of economic decrease from 150 million euros to 20 million euros. If we base our own football knowledge on the mathematical, arithmetical, technological side of football, then we can get Eden Hazard like this. And just to give you a perspective, I think it's gonna be harder to convince. If we have two situations, right? I have a feeling it would be way harder, for example, to convince Zaniolo to renew his contract than get Eden Hazard from Real Madrid. Obviously, does this mean, Hazard is unbelievable, he'll make Roma win a Champions League? Not at all. Because, I'm close to the fact that for a club to win, we don't need single players, we need a team. And a perfect example of this is PSG. Look at PSG. They think that by buying every single good player, you automatically win trophies. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, even if you have the money. It's the way the teams communicate with each other. So, I just want to put this out. People link Hazard to millions and millions of euros, which this club obviously can't spend. But when I'm just gonna throw this out, Eden Hazard could be very easy to achieve, in my opinion. If we potentially, we're gonna talk about this in today's live stream. But if you base your own knowledge on the mathematical side and economical and financial side of football, we can hypothetically get Hazard like this. Obviously, will it happen? It won't. Why? Because other teams are interested in him. So this fact of him dropping down his value, this fact of him being hypothetically easy to buy him, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily mean, he'll join Roma. Because obviously then he needs to decide, does he want to join this team? He can join Borussia Dortmund, which are interested in them. He can return to Chelsea, which are in favor of a return. He can join, what's their name again? Barcelona and PSG are all interested in this guy. Obviously, can we just sit down? Can the Fredkins allow to sit down and compete with these clubs? Not at all. But obviously, the big question which all the clubs which are interested in Hazard are asking right now is injuries, fitness, and all of that stuff. Because yes, he is a champion of this sport, but he is living, God knows what a tough moment he's living right now. This is where the negatives come in, because he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but that numbers, those statistics which the Fredkins need to focus on. This guy in 2018 was worth 150 million pounds, and now he is worth 20 million pounds. It's just by saying this out loud, a massive exclamation mark pops up when it comes to Hazard. Do I really want to spend money for someone which, as logical fallacy watch, does earn quite a lot, and that is the economical obstacle for a club like Roma? Because we can't undermine that. His value might have dropped, but his wages are still the same, and I barely think he he will say, oh yeah, I'll join Roma, I'll lower my wages. He's not like that. The only player which I can see doing that right now is Nainggolan, but Nainggolan's, it's not in his prime anymore. So I can't see him, oh yeah, Roma are interested in me, I'm going to drop my wages. I really can't see that. Obviously, he does earn quite a lot of money, and that is an economical obstacle which Roma has, and that clubs like PSG, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund don't have. But not necessarily that. I don't want to focus myself on economical obstacles. I want to focus myself on the fitness this guy's living. Because as I said, he's an amazing player. He was an amazing player. When he was in his prime at Chelsea, he was one of the best attackers in the world. But you see, this adventure at Real Madrid, it's not a fairy tale for him. It's not Cinderella. It's not that. He is living a tragic moment. And I don't want to sound, I'm not exaggerating anything, but I think, he's living a very tough moment. Now, Ancelotti has publicly said that his plans as a Real Madrid manager don't, circulate and base themselves upon Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard is basically cut out of their project. And obviously, Mourinho is giving him a call. This doesn't mean, oh yeah, he's not gonna, Mourinho called him, he's gonna join Roma now. But, this does mean that a manager like Mourinho wants to put pressure on him and wants to put pressure on his future decision, wherever he wants to go. Because he's not staying at Real Madrid. Let's be honest on that. But also, something which I think we can talk about is that I think a lot of this will be, I think the Zaniolo deal will be a key to this. Now, I've said it many times, the Zaniolo deal right now links to every aspect of this club. Every single aspect, every single piece of a puzzle you find for Roma links to Zaniolo. It's just the way it is. And I think this deal bases itself on Zaniolo quite a lot. If we were to sell Zaniolo for, Roma established his price tag at £80 million. I cannot see any team paying £80 million for Zaniolo, especially Juventus. If they spent £70 million for Vlahovic, they are not going to spend £80 million on Zaniolo. I do think Roma have established his price tag, but will negotiate even around 50 to 60 million pounds. So even if we were to sell Zaniolo for 50/60, 55 million pounds, that's where this deal really comes into perspective, really comes into the juicy part. Right now, we've just got our manager giving him a call, telling him, I've got a player in my team who has got a very bad attitude, who, doesn't necessarily want to stay in this team. I'm just, letting you know that this player will most likely leave this club this summer. I'm just putting an awareness around you. I'm not saying you need to come, but think about it. This is what Mourinho is doing with Hazard right now. He's starting to just implant his Mourinho's project in Hazard's mind, if we can say so, to have a think about it. And a lot of these, I bet you Mourinho has used the term Zaniolo, because a lot of this deal, a lot of this, exchange, a lot of this transfer news bases itself around the Zaniolo deal. If we were to sell Zaniolo for 50, 60, 55 even million euros, we are in a position to attack Hazard and try to buy him. If we don't sell Zaniolo and Zaniolo just drastically wakes up a morning and says, oh my god, I want to stay at this club. What was I even thinking? Oh, I'm going to lower my wages, I'm staying here. If that's what Zaniolo will go through and ends up renewing his contract, this deal will come to an end. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that we won't buy players if Zaniolo renews his contract. We will definitely buy players because we've seen how mentally fragile that guy is. So, but obviously it won't be Hazard, mainly because of the amount of wages he earns. But if we were to sell Zaniolo, I do think a big, big, big attack from the Fredkins and Thiago Pinto and Mourinho most of all will come to Real Madrid. Real Madrid have said it. They don't want this guy anymore. Real Madrid are letting him free. But also they have established their price tag. A club which is interested in Eden Hazard needs to pay around 30 to 45 million pounds to buy him. Again, if Zaniolo leaves, we're in an economically stable position to potentially, spend that money. I have always said this, and I'm continuing to say this. I would much rather, if we sell Zaniolo, use that money, which is a lot of money, to buy several average good players than spending all of that money on one player, especially if it's Hazard. I would understand that if it was Kante or Mbappe, but for a player like him, who is very injury prone, who in the past 3 years of his football career, he's barely ever played, it's a massive risk. And God, if it's a risk for a club like us. We can't allow ourselves to spend all of that money on Eden Hazard. And this is where the backup options need to be there. I do think there are potentially better backup options than Hazard, just because I'm not too convinced about the fitness he's living. The fitness, the injuries. I think spending 40 million on Hazard would be a massive risk. And are we in a position to risk it? We're not. And this is where all of these considerations need to take place. Now, there's a second option to try and bring Hazard to Roma, which is to loan him for a couple of seasons and then give him back to Real Madrid. This is something which, obviously, Real Madrid, as I said before, wants this guy to leave. If it's on a permanent deal, if it's on a temporary deal, they couldn't care less. They're not Hazard phobic, don't get me wrong, but they are. Ancelotti has said this publicly in a press conference. Hazard is out of my project. Why would Real Madrid keep Hazard if, as Logical Fallacy Watch says in the chat, he earns a lot of money and he's completely out? It's basically a similar situation to us. Why the hell would we need to keep Veretout if he doesn't want to stay, if he's out of a project? It's just dumb. It's a similar situation, but we've got Hazard on one side and Veretout on one side. So, I think, once again, there are better options. But if we were to potentially get him on a loan, just like Maitland-Niles maybe, try him out. If he's a flop, give him back. If he's great, pay Real Madrid. But with a loan, you can get a kind of experience. I'm not sure if you guys, if you're at school, if you probably have a degree right now, if you have a job. If you're at school, I'm not sure, this is probably my school, but at the end of the year, in my school, they gave you taster lessons of the next year's course, right? For example, just as an example, I'm finishing my GCSEs this summer, and I'm starting my A-levels next year. At the end of this school year, I will be given taster lessons to see what the course is like in the next following years. I think with a loan, we can get a similar situation. We can get a taster of Hazard. If he bonds well with the fans, if he bonds well with the atmosphere in Rome, if he bonds well and links up well with the other players, communicating well, if he ends up playing well in a completely different league than what he's used to, such as the Premier League and La Liga, you see. And I do think the conclusion of this, in my opinion, is that the loan would be the best move. Just to have it like Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles is an absolute flop, and he will get back to Arsenal. Just try it. We don't pay him. Yes, we might pay some wages, but it's for 1 year. Try for 1 year. Loan him in. If he's a flop, loan him back out. And I think this is what we should try to do more. Because, frankly speaking, risking it and buying him permanently for a lot of money, because Real Madrid are not, we know what Florentino Perez is like. He is an absolute bastard. We know what he's like. He's like Agnelli from Juventus. The two together, they're like the fat and the small. They're bastards, they are. Florentino Perez is one of those presidents which go, oh yeah, you want Hazard? Oh yeah, you can buy Hazard. But I'm not giving a discount. Just be aware of that. You want him, you pay for him. Florentino Perez is a bastard. This is why Real Madrid will not go down and will not lower their offer, which is around, as we said before, 30 to 45 million pounds. They're not going to do that. And I think the Fredkins should know this pretty well. They know what Florentino Perez is like. So, in a position like Roma, we cannot spend and risk it to buy someone like Hazard, who over the last 3 years, has barely ever played, has been tormented by injuries, and his fitness is just boom. His value went from 150 million pounds to 20 million pounds. We are not in a position to risk it. We're not PSG. PSG put Messi, God knows how much money, and he's a flop at PSG. We can't do that. This is why we either loan him in, get a taster, or just, I don't know. So yeah, this is basically my conclusion for it. I think a loan would be great, but if we were to buy someone and spend that amount of money, he's a great player, don't get me wrong. He was amazing. One of the best players in the world when he was at Chelsea in his prime. He's not that anymore. This is why I do think if we sit down at a table with Thiago Pinto and the Fredkins in front of us, we can find better options. Younger options, because he's 31 years old, and options which we can risk it for more. You see what I mean? I'm not going to ramble on. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is the situation. Don't think the way that I used to think about Eden Hazard. Oh, it's Eden Hazard. It's the name which starts with an H. Oh, he's a god of football. Why will he ever join this club? Why are Roma ever in a position to spend so much money for Hazard? When it comes to that, it won't be that hard to get him. He's worth 20 million pounds. The only economical obstacle is his wages, but otherwise, you see, it's just the way it is. So, let me read some comments, and then I will end the stream. Hazard value is finished both financially and footballing value due to injuries. His salary would still be too much. No, please, Hazard is old. His prime was in Chelsea. Now Hazard, as good as Ibra, he is old. He earns 470,000. What? Wow. Right. Let's detach ourselves from that. Although I know Mourinho can revive him back to a perfect player he used to be. Vlahovic choked. Oh yeah, Juventus lost yesterday. Can we have a glance at top four? Let me know in the chat right now, yes or no. Now that Juventus lost, can we have a glance at top four? We still need to play Napoli and Inter, just bear that in mind. Please don't sell Zaniolo. Zaniolo would be stupid to move due to his poor performance. He has no bargaining power for his salary. His weekly wages should be reduced to $200,000 to $250 per week to fit in Rome. I think he's good for Roma. Was not Hazard one of Chelsea players involved in the dressing room kind of mutiny? I have no idea. I don't follow Chelsea Daily News. Sorry, man. The short production in value should tell you everything. I'd pass and go on for a midfielder from a weaker set. That's exactly what I think. I think a massive argument when it comes to the Hazard is that. From 150 million to 20 million. I could spend all night thinking about this. It's just mental. Hello, Guapo. Whatever happened in Chelsea, stay in Chelsea, I guess. Buy Traore instead from Sassuolo. Traore from Sassuolo has the same price, but far more potential. I really like Traore as well. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let me see the results of the poll. What you guys think? Yes or no? Should we buy him? And then I'll end this stream. 66% say yes and 34% says no. Right, it's fairly balanced. I'm not gonna lie. It's fairly balanced. So after yesterday, we have a chance. Right, positivity in the chat. It's tough to get top four. I hope we can get it. positivity. You love to see it. I will catch you tomorrow for the preview for Bodo Glimt. Yes, it's that time of the year where we're back with those 6-1 deja vus. Hopefully that won't happen. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So I'll catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, smash the subscribe button. Let's try and get 2,700 subscribers as fast as possible. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? And share the link of the channel with your families and friends. Like the live stream as soon as it becomes a video. And comment in the comments of the video your impressions on Hazard, and follow me on Instagram in the yellow box over there, over at the Roma Guy. Lower score, top 4 depends on the results we get from Inter and Napoli, and I think those matches all depend on both the two teams still being in a title race. If Inter and Napoli are still in a title race, I'm sorry, we'll get battered both matches. Just they're playing for more. That's just the way it is. I don't want to be negative, but that's just the way it is. We've seen it. What playing against Inter is like. So yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. Simon out.